I heard the knock at exactly 3:17 p.m. I remembered what I'd been told so many times before: the devil always arrives with grace. And this knock, soft, deliberate, felt like it had been practiced. When I opened the door, there they were. My mother stood stiffly, wearing the same pearl necklace she reserved for Sunday service. My father, awkward in his neatly pressed old navy blazer, looked just as uncomfortable. Both of them clutched their hands like they were holding invisible rosaries strung together by guilt instead of beads. Inside, behind me, my son was sprawled on the floor, rolling around his weathered toy truck. He was 12 now. He didn't glance their way. He didn't have to. The air had already changed, thickened, as soon as their eyes found him. Their faces twisted. My father was the first to speak, his voice cracking like glass under pressure. What is this?" he stammered, like he was seeing a ghost he thought would never haunt him again. It was the same voice I'd heard on the night he called me a disgrace. That was the first fracture. The others would follow. You see, they didn't just disown me. They buried me. With words sharp as knives. With shame that hung like chains. With doors slammed shut and bolted. I was just 17 then. A boy with a child on the way. Mara, my girlfriend, was pregnant, and my devout, image-obsessed parents decided I wasn't worth the embarrassment of sheltering anymore. They hissed at me to leave, like I was some contaminant dragging dirt across their shiny lives. "You've dishonored us," they said. That night, they tore my name off me like it was a label they regretted printing. To the neighbors, they whispered I had run away. Told the church elders I was lost to rebellion. Just another troubled teen who abandoned his family. But I hadn't run. I had built. Mara and I made something out of nothing. A life stitched together in a cramped, damp apartment that reeked of mold and hopelessness. We survived on what we could get. I took every job others passed over, scrubbing dishes in greasy diners, mopping up blood and vomit in bars after last call. I watched my son take his first unsteady steps on scuffed linoleum beneath a flickering ceiling bulb. I was there for every scraped knee, every fever, every nightmare that needed banishing in the dark. They weren't. And for a long time, I was okay with that, until they decided to return. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Their betrayal was more than just abandonment. It was a rewrite of reality. They painted themselves as martyrs, victims of a wayward child. Online, I watched them play pretend, smiling for photos at charity events, speaking fondly of the son they'd lost, as if they had ever looked for him. I didn't break. I woke up. Hatred. That's a wildfire. It consumes. I couldn't afford that. So instead, I chose something cleaner. I observed. I learned. I tracked every move they made, how they spoke, where they went, what mattered most to them. It became strategy, not emotion. Chess, not checkers. And I was patient. I spent years working overnight shifts while studying during the day, slowly earning my degree. I launched my own landscaping business. Small beginnings, but mine. I chose a logo made from the very initials they'd tried to erase from me. With every lawn I groomed in their manicured community, I carved silent victories. I started purchasing property under another name, one of them being the lot right next to their church. And I waited. When my son turned 10, I sat him down and told him everything. No pretty lies. No sugarcoating. I told my son the truth, that those who shared his blood were nothing more than strangers who once chose their public image over their own family. He listened, and he understood. We made a silent pact that day. We'd wait. No anger, no haste, just patience. The first opportunity revealed itself when I heard from an old classmate that my father was campaigning for a city council seat. Family values. Honor. Personal sacrifice. Adorable. That's when I made my first move. I sent anonymous tips to local reporters, clues about the son they had conveniently edited out of their lives. I included pictures, Me and my son volunteering, working at neighborhood cleanups, attending school functions together. We stood side by side, faces cut from the same mold, those eyes, that chin. A story was beginning to form. Then came the invitations. Handwritten, understated, carefully worded like old-fashioned letters lost in the wrong mailbox. Father and Son Charity Gala. You've been selected for a feature on fathers who overcome adversity. I knew their pride would be too loud to ignore the bait. And so, they arrived, just as I knew they would. And here we were again, full circle, with them standing at my front door, facing the grandson they never bothered to know. They hadn't recognized the address. The property was mine, but listed under a shell company. Their confusion began to show as soon as their eyes landed on him. My son. Their blood. A living reminder of the truth they tried to bury. What is this? My mother murmured, her mascara flaking beneath the shock. I stepped forward, calm and composed. My voice steady. This is your grandson. The child you abandoned before he took his first breath. The silence that followed was suffocating. My father shook his head faintly. That's not possible, he whispered. But his voice betrayed him, just like his eyes. They couldn't tear away from the boy. The jawline. The gaze. The same fire. There was no room left for denial. I handed him a folder. Inside were photographs, DNA test results, press clippings highlighting my company's achievements, deeds to properties I'd purchased. His hands trembled as he held it. I told you before, I said quietly. I wouldn't forget. I turned to my son. Do you know who these people are? He nodded once. Liars. Perfect. The final strike came next. I passed them an invitation, thick, gold-foiled cardstock, elegant and damning all at once. To the father-son gala, I said, my tone laced with venom-laced calm. Courtesy of your son. You remember, the disgrace. I leaned in, my voice low and sharp. You're going to attend. You'll smile. You'll shake hands and pose for the cameras. You'll call me your son, and you'll tell everyone how proud you are of the child you cast out. I paused, letting that sink in. And if you don't, every document in that folder goes to the press. Then I delivered the final cut. Oh, and by the way, I bought the building beside your church. My mother's throat tensed. I could see it. I'm turning it into a shelter. 4 teenage fathers. So every Sunday, when your flock gathers, they'll look right at the home built by the son you tried to erase. I didn't yell. Didn't threaten. I didn't need to. They left without their usual pride. That self-important swagger? Gone. Hollowed out. And yes, they went to the gala. They smiled for the photographers. They kissed my son on the cheek. Flash after flash captured every moment of their forced redemption. I won. But this wasn't about victory. It was about memory. About making sure they never got to rewrite the story. Because every time they look at my son, they won't see grace or forgiveness. They'll see what they tried to deny. I never wanted their apology. I wanted to be the mark they could never scrub out. They tried to make me disappear. Instead, I became the ink they can't wash from their pages.